All right, we're here for Shootin' the Breeze, episode 5. A lot to talk about, mainly the NBA playoffs, some college football stuff, and then also there's some NBA news regarding the TV rights that I want to get into, as it looks like the future of inside the NBA is very bleak, if not completely dead. First off, I want to thank everyone that's subscribed to us on here. We reached our 1 month goal of getting to 50 subs. We're at 52 as of this recording, so thank you to everyone that's taken the time to subscribe, or to anyone that's taken the time to watch our content. We've gotten up to about 20,000 views in the first month, which is more than we would have ever imagined, so it's been a lot of fun doing this with JJ, and we're going to keep trying to build this and hope something comes with it and we get a good little community. We got the Facebook group as well, which is growing a little bit. So let's get right into it. Last night there was an exciting first game of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Pacers, who were able to knock off the Knicks over the weekend, took on the Celtics. The Celtics had a 13-point lead in the third quarter and were not able to hold on to it, and actually trailed by as much as 5 in the final minute. And then Indiana turned the ball over twice in the final 30 seconds. Drew Holiday was able to force a steal on an inbounds pass to get the Celtics the ball back with 8 seconds left, and they were down 3. Indiana, I think they were planning to foul, and Rick Carlisle has said as much, that was the plan. But it just, where Jaylen Brown got the ball in the corner, it would have been tough to foul in that instance. Without potentially giving up a 3-point play or a 4-point play. And I think that Siakam made the right decision, in my opinion. I just think the Celtics executed well, and Brown made a hell of a shot from the corner. This was an awesome game. Indiana's pace was outstanding. I thought the Celtics, they went through a few lulls offensively and defensively at times. It feels like they just sort of, they get lazy on defense for whatever reason. I'm not sure. But, offensively, too, they go into a lot of ISO, especially when they have leads. It feels like they just sort of milk the shot clock and then just sort of ISO ball it with Tatum or Brown. And I don't think that's an effective way to score. I think the ball movement was great in the first half, and they should have continued with that. But nonetheless, and I also think, too, Al Horford taking 12 threes that played right into Indiana's hands. I don't think that there should be a game right now where Al Horford's taking 12 three-pointers. I love Al, but I don't think that that's the recipe for winning. Indiana shot the ball very well. I believe they shot close to 55%. I know a lot of people are talking about the free throw disparity. Indiana was putting teams at the line the most in the NBA this year, and the Celtics were putting teams at the line the least. So I know that the free throws were pretty uneven, but based on what these two teams have been throughout the season, it's really not all that surprising. But this is going to be a fun and entertaining series. And I'm a Celtics fan, but I would not write the Pacers off in this series. I think the Pacers are going to give the Celtics everything they can handle and then some. Halliburton played well until the very end. I thought he struggled with Drew Holiday on him, but I expect him to bounce back in Game 2 in terms of that. And then I think Tatum, once again, he struggled in the fourth, 2 for 10, but he did score 11 points in overtime. He needs to be more consistent when it comes to crunch time. That's always been a concern with Jason Tatum, and he did nothing really to quell that. But he did step up in overtime, so that was nice to see. He had an and one, and he hit a big 3 from the top of the paint. And I like the Celtics in 6 in this series. The series I'm most excited for actually takes place tonight, Game 1 at 8:30. Minnesota knocked off Denver in a wild Game 7. Denver was up by as much as 20, and Minnesota was able to come back, even with Anthony Edwards shooting 6 of 24 from the field. So that shows you, too, just how deep Minnesota is, and they have a lot of guys that can put the ball in the basket. I think that's what gives them an edge in this series against Dallas. Um, PJ Washington's been playing well for Dallas, and obviously Kyrie and Luka, we know what they can do. But I really think Minnesota has a chance to not just go to the NBA Finals for the first time in their history, but I also think that they have a chance to win the whole thing. Their defense is smothering. Anthony Edwards is a great on-ball defender. There were the times that he was manned up on Jamal Murray, I thought he was sensational. And I really think right now, obviously Boston is the favorite for obvious reasons. They dominated throughout the year. But Minnesota is not the team I would want to face if I were a Celtics fan, which I am. Sorry, I'm a little stuffy. It's pollen season. But also, regarding the West, I think too that I'm going to take Minnesota, and I'm going to take them in 7. I think it's going to go 7 games, and I think this is going to be the best series of the entire playoffs. I just think it's going to be fun, and I really like how the NBA's. I think they've been looking for parity. Usually, you come into an NBA season and you can pick right away who's going to win an NBA title. There's usually like 2 or 3 teams. Coming into the playoffs this year, I felt there were multiple teams that had a chance to potentially win a championship if everything broke well for them. Obviously, the Celtics have been the favorites since the start of the year, but overall, I think this is as much parity as the league has had in a long time, so Adam Silver's got to be very happy with himself. One of the problems, and I put this in the Facebook group at the Walsh Boys Show. Be sure to like us if you haven't already. One of the things that I put in the Facebook group in terms of the Celtics, though, was they needed to eliminate second chance opportunities for Indiana. They did not do that last night. Indiana was able to get constant second, third, fourth opportunities at points. And that's a team like that shoots the ball as well as Indiana. You cannot do that. So I think that's going to be the main thing. I think Boston showed they can play at that pace with Indiana. And I think when they switched to zone, it sort of slowed Indiana down. So I think you'll see a lot of zone. Not throughout the entire game, but I think you'll see stretches where Boston goes to zone. And I think that Al Horford was someone that really struggled defensively. And Cornette struggled as well. Siakam is going to be an X factor for the Pacers this series. There's nobody. Derek White's too small, and Jason Tatum as well. I think it's a clear mismatch for anybody that they put on Siakam. So for Indiana to have a chance, I think Siakam's going to have a big series. He played well last night, but I think they're going to need even more from him for them to have a chance. But getting back to Dallas, sorry, I'm flip-flopping around here. I just wanted to bring that point up. I think the biggest thing is trying to limit the amount of opportunities that Luka has to shoot the ball. You got to try to get the ball out of Luka's hands and make other people beat you. Kyrie obviously is not someone you want to have the ball in his hands either. But I think that the way that they play defense, it's going to make it harder for them to get shots on the perimeter, which is where Luka really wants to play, especially with his step-back game. I expect Minnesota to probably blitz him a lot once he crosses half, and I think it's going to be a very interesting series about how they attack this defensively with 2 scorers like that can play on the perimeter and can also take it to the basket. Of the two, I see Edwards probably covering Luka. I know that Luka's obviously got the size advantage there, but I think that with Edwards' athletic ability, his length, and his strength, I think that he can give Luka fits. And then I don't know on Dallas who you put on Anthony Edwards. Obviously, he struggled in Game 7. I don't expect that to happen again in this series, but who knows? Maybe Dallas tries some zone. But I think that Dallas is going to have some issues defensively, so it's going to be a matter of them putting up a lot of points to keep up with Minnesota. Minnesota likes to keep the score down, I think. they're a very defensive-minded team. I think they've been the best defensive team these playoffs. I don't even think that's arguable. I know the Knicks were very good too, but I think Minnesota's been outstanding. And nobody saw Minnesota getting this far, but now I don't think anybody wants to play them. So, and then also in NBA news today, there was also Bronny James he's made it back into the ESPN NBA mock draft, and they currently have him going to the Celtics with the 54th pick, which is very interesting for a variety of reasons. Obviously, LeBron's had his battles with the Celtics over the course of his career, going back to the Paul Pierce days, and then obviously towards the end of his run in Cleveland. And he's mainly gotten the best of the Celtics. But I think that, he doesn't go to Miami if Boston isn't an obstacle in his way. And I think that, he's made comments in the past, obviously, about Boston fans being racist. And I don't know if that were a scenario that could potentially happen. I'm not sure how Rich Paul and LeBron would feel about Bronny potentially coming to Boston. Realistically, I think it would be a great situation for Bronny. He's not going to be asked to do too much right away, and it would give him a chance to develop, probably go to Maine and play in the G League. I think that would be very beneficial to him, and who knows, maybe he can turn into a 3-and-D type player. The biggest problem with Bronny is they saw at the Combine he's only 6'1.5". He's not really a true point guard, and he's kind of small for a 2. So I think that makes it sort of hard to sort of find a spot for him. But, his athletic ability, and if he can develop a jumper. One of the big knocks on Jaylen Brown, and before I get into this, I am not comparing him to Jaylen Brown. One of the big knocks was Jaylen Brown couldn't shoot from the outside, and I think that he's developed into a reliable jump shooter, and that's allowed him to take his game to the next level and become a star in the NBA, and right now he's the highest paid player in NBA history. It's soon to be topped by Jason Tatum, but nonetheless, I think that Bronny coming to Boston would actually be a good fit. It would allow him to not have to rush into playing heavy minutes. Obviously, he just had the heart issue, so that's not something to mess around with, but apparently he's been cleared by NBA doctors. And the team they have, he'd be right into a winning situation. The only thing I think might frustrate him is not being able to get on the court very much. But that would be a very, very interesting situation if the Celtics were to take him. But like I said, I don't see LeBron and Rich Paul allowing that to happen. And they have a lot of power in the NBA. So I don't see that happening. But it would be interesting, and I think it would be an excellent situation for Bronny to come to Boston and be on a team that's got a winning culture, and he's got plenty of guys that he can learn from. And then they have a great program down in Maine with the Maine Celtics. So who knows what's going to happen there, but I just thought that was worth mentioning. And then the biggest news as far as the NBA outside of the playoffs today was that the media rights deal, according to Sports Business Journal, is supposed to be announced, if not today, very soon. And it looks like it's going to be ESPN getting the A package, which will include the NBA Finals. They paid $2.8 billion for it. And then NBC is going to be returning to NBA coverage. They paid $2.6 billion. And they're going to be getting the B package, which is what TNT has had. We'll get to them in a second. And they're going to have playoff games up through the conference finals, and they're also going to have basketball night in America on Sunday nights once the NFL season concludes. And then Amazon is also going to have WNBA games, which they've already been showing WNBA games as of now, but they're going to have the WNBA, and they're also going to have in-season tournament games and first-round playoff games as well. So that's another streaming package. The NFL's obviously signed with Netflix and Amazon and Peacock. The NBA is now in the streaming service industry with Amazon. So with that is the end of the NBA on TNT for the first time since 1989. And that also means the worst part of this is the potential end of Inside the NBA. The best basketball show on television throughout my entire life. I'm 32, and that's been the show. Ernie Johnson is the best show host in sports television. I don't think there's a close second. Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and Shaq, perfect combination of those three. And Charles Barkley has said he does not think that Ernie Johnson would ever leave Turner Sports. So if that is the case, then this current iteration of Inside the NBA is gone, which is that's bad business for the NBA. If I'm the NBA, I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that shifts, whether it's over to Amazon or over to NBC. You got to make that show happen still. That show has brought a lot of casual viewers to the NBA, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens with that. So many great moments on that show, not just basketball-wise, but the fights with Chuck and Shaq, Kenny Smith just sort of egging them on, and then also the great basketball points. And they've not been afraid to step out of basketball and talk other things, whether it's societal issues or other sports. They've brought in a lot of cast of characters as guests, and there's been a lot of fun memories on that show. So here's hoping that somehow they find their way over to either NBC or to Amazon, because I don't see ESPN trying to get those guys. They have their coverage now with Malika Andrews, Stephen A. Smith, and Michael Wilbon. And I'm a big fan of Michael Wilbon. Stephen A. Smith is, he's entertaining. He is what he is. He's been around for a long time. He's connected in the NBA. And then obviously they have Woj as well, and him and Shams are the best in the business. It will be interesting to see if Shams makes his way onto either the NBC or the Amazon package. If I were with those two networks, I would be trying to make that happen. I think that would be a big coup for them. And then, it'll be interesting because Charles Barkley has said he would listen to other offers. Shaq, I think, would listen and go where the money is. Kenny Smith as well. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And then also, just final news on that in terms of TNT. It's also been announced and made official that TNT will be getting first-round college football playoff games for the next 5 years. They are sub-licensing from ESPN, and so starting this year, the first round of the college football playoffs, there will be games broadcast on TNT. Not sure what that will look like in terms of broadcast teams or studio coverage, but I'm hoping if Ernie Johnson stays that's Ernie Johnson's gig in the studio or calling the game. Either way, I'd be happy. But I think that'll be cool too, having TNT cover those games. The college football playoff is going to be so much more exciting now with more teams involved. You've heard on our podcast, if you've listened to us on Spotify, I don't want it to get beyond the 14 that they're going to next year. I thought 12 was the sweet spot, but 14 it is. I would hope they don't go any further than that, but who knows? Money talks. And then, I also would hope that they don't go with the group of five in the playoffs going forward. I think that group of five should get their own playoff bracket. I think it gives them a chance to shine rather than getting fed to, like last year in the Fiesta Bowl. I don't want to see Oregon against Liberty. Nobody wants to see that. It's a great story when it happens, like when Boise State beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, but those are so few and far between. Most of them are just blowouts. We don't need to see that in those games. Give the group of five their own playoff and declare a group of five national champion. I think that's better. It helps in recruiting rather than seeing them get blown out on national television every year to the bigger schools. So just wanted to talk a little bit on that. And also, if you saw this week, Jalen Brunson is looking to sign a contract extension. He's going to sign a 4-year, $156 million extension rather than waiting for a 5-year, $270 next year. That's reported. It has not happened as of yet. It would happen this summer. And so that's pretty cool of Jalen Brunson. He's willing to do it now and get it taken care of when he could be actually making more money had he waited a year. I think he's committed to helping build this Knicks team, and it'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do moving forward. Do they stick with Julius Randle, or you're already starting to hear whispers that he could potentially be moved in the offseason? So let's see what happens this summer. And let me know in the comments if there's anything next week or throughout the week, whether it's shorts or anything else you'd like me to talk about. Be sure to listen and subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, The Walsh Boys Show. Leave us a 5-star rating. That helps us out a lot. And then also, we post on here throughout the week. We post shorts, we post videos or whatever. Or I'm going to start adding more videos. It's really been a blast doing this. It's been cool to see the amount of people that have actually tuned in and watched. I'm going to try to start doing more live streams as well. Now that we've reached the 50 subscriber mark, that'll be possible to do. So also like us on Facebook. We're the Walsh Boys Show on Facebook. We post polls on there, reels, and other content in there as well. Post news as it pops up as well. So we try to keep you updated. But until then, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Shootin' the Breeze. And be well and take care, guys.